Whoa. I don't know how to start these things.
Me
But
neither.
we're starting.
We're in it.
Um,
It's already started.
well, I think the right way to start it is always is the whiteboard. Um, which I'm gonna share my screen now, but I'm a little upset because I think the thing I was doing this morning has disappeared.
Uh-oh.
Which oh no, it's back. Okay. Nice, because I prepared this whole thing. Okay. Hello. Okay, so we're gonna do the normal thing of like here's a
I was
brand
like,
new.
wowza, that's a lot of stuff.
Well, we're gonna get to that.
Sounds good.
But this is our as always this is our stream. Like our river, and then the new thing I'm doing here is I'm setting up like an evergreen depository of knowledge.
Mm.
So this is like just our transient whiteboard, and then the other one, or which I'm
Love
calling
how
ORI here.
the stream feeds into the Evergreen depository and keeps
Yeah,
it watered.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
cute.
See, and okay, so this is big. I actually like this categorization a lot because I see a lot of things through that, like my Twitter.
Right.
Okay, look, hold on. The evergreen thing is kind of what's valuable. Everyone wants this because you just make things that are always useful. So it's like, great, we want more of this. The problem is that this requires boxes, like we were talking the last
Right.
time. And one of my problems, I've always failed at making evergreen things because I get a lot of ideas that don't fit anywhere.
I think I'm really tempted to just jump straight into pulling apart the idea of evergreen and what does that actually
Mhm.
mean. But I think I'm going to hold back for the moment.
Okay. Because I think I have answers, but because it
Right?
you could even have it as relevant to a specific context. But let's assume there is such a thing, or
Yeah,
purposes
I'm not
here.
going to go full nihilist on you, but the idea is what makes it evergreen. It's that people are actively using and participating in it. Like things die if they're not actively growing. So like there's no evergreen state. There's just it
Right, right.
continually gets refed. When I go to like here's a great example. You know Christine, right, who did cuties?
Yes.
One time I clicked on the link in her profile and I got to this document that was just so long. I was like, oh my God, this woman is so prolific. I'm really fascinated, but I'm completely intimidated by how much content there is to go through. If I could get her on a call like this and actually talk to her about what's salient for her, like what's recent, that gives me an in. But just having a wall of evergreen content is actually really intimidating for me. And I think that's why as humans we're addicted to feeds more than we're addicted to like reading books and consuming actual course materials or something like that.
I actually think this is a great point you just made because I think this is the problem with like I've struggled to make an entry point. Like I feel like I want there's a lot of new you know how people every time they get new followers they're like, "Hello everyone, this is what I tweet about." And I've never
Yeah,
done that. I've
yeah.
never done that, and I think because it's like I don't know where do I begin? Like you just read everything in the past. I don't know which part is relevant, but I've figured out
Feels like
a new
it feels like small talk. It feels like it's not about giving them a perfect entry point. It's about the pattern interrupt of like, hello, new follower. And it feels like if I'm a new follower, I feel like you're actually addressing me. So that feels like it's welcoming and drawing me in. Even though in the past I've been really annoyed by this and think it's irrelevant. Like I'm just thinking about the function that it serves. And that can be the entry point right there. And it almost doesn't matter what you put in there. Like it's just going to be whatever's relevant for you at the time.
I think what you're saying, how I interpret it, fit it into my model is think about how onboarding to a new company works.
Mm.
Because I'm gonna draw an analogy between that and onboarding to someone's
Never worked
Twitter
at a
or writing.
company. I've never worked at a company where it works.
Well, here's that's it. That's it. That's actually the reason it doesn't work. It's because the people try to do like an evergreen entry point,
I did
but
have a
that
girlfriend who worked for Meta, and I got to observe that onboarding process, and that one was awesome. So if you have a ridiculous amount of resources, you can make it work.
but even then, it's okay. So actually I have a theory about why it's so good.
Yeah.
You're more like the any companies that have a steady flow of new people
Yeah.
have the best onboarding
Well, those are your
because
customers for onboarding.
exactly
You need
it just
users.
goes stale otherwise. Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep. It's the same thing. It's like a desire path.
It's a stream.
Uh, I really like desire path. Is that in your lexicon? Do you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. CalPath. I think Desire
It's
Path is a
such a good.
less
Wait, what's the other name?
objectifying. CalPath.
Cow, like the cow, the animal.
Yeah, I think they don't want to use that because it compares people to cattle, which is kind of
Oh,
insulting.
yeah, yeah.
And yet,
Desire
and
path.
yet, some of our behaviors, the sheep thing, like some of our behaviors are crowd behaviors.
Right, right. Um, but that's basically it. You want what you want is people walking the path. That's
Mm.
the only way to actually keep, and that makes it easier for other people
You
to
you know
walk the
what's
path.
really weird about that is like when you call it desire path, it's not necessarily the immediate desire of the individual humans, but it's the aggregate desire of the humans in that space. So it's kind of like an egregoric desire. It's like you're watching. It's like if I'm an individual human, maybe I'm going off to the right or the left, but I'm going to follow this just straight down the middle because it's there, right? So the
Yeah,
human
yeah.
exercises less agency in the moment, but the
You can
egregore
actually.
carves its own path.
I think that's right. I like this a lot, and I think of it as like, let's say there's an undifferentiated path, and the first person walks. The first person has any choice, to walk anywhere. Okay, let's say
Right,
they pick this. Now the next person has a
right.
choice now, like confirm the existing one,
Yeah,
which is a little easier, or try the new one, and maybe someone tries this, but then the next person, which one wins out?
right. The thing to keep in mind though is like the first person walking through the undifferentiated area, they're not necessarily thinking, "Hey, I'm about to carve a path. I better be really
Mm.
precise with my steps."
Mm-hmm.
They're just trying
Yep.
to get from A to B. And then the
Yep.
next person is like that too. And so in the individual, each person is not really deliberately doing a thing, and yet they're participating in the cultivation of this path.
This is great, because I think it's like, do egregores have agency? Do they make decisions? And this is like kind of like a really spicy question that I think some people are like, this is not something that can be answered.
This goes right back to
Uh,
strange loop. It's like, do we have agency? Do we make decisions? It's like, obviously yes, right? Where is that?
I think within ORI we are close to having like a language, a framework inside of which the answer is actually very clear,
Mm.
and on top of that you can build a lot of things. It's going to be spicy, but I
Yeah,
think it's true.
I tend to think free will exists only where agency is over specified. So if you think of like, you don't necessarily have on the periphery of your attention, you don't necessarily have the ability to freely move your attention because you don't know where you're moving it to. But within the bounds
Hmm.
of your attention, you have a little bit more direction, right? So the more it's focused and concentrated, the more that you actually know where you're moving it as you're moving it. Again, presupposing that you are doing the moving of the attention. And it's not just
Do you
some
know what?
process that
Well,
sort of
yeah. Do
self.
you do you know what I'm trying to Google here? The ants. This one.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that's
yeah. That
right.
one's classic.
Uh, wish I could.
Did the ants
I'm just gonna
outperform the
get.
humans in this one? Because the humans were too intelligent?
Uh, yes. And the humans. The problem with the humans is that they were not coordinated enough.
Right.
uh, like
Too much
the problem.
individual processing, not enough collective processing.
Right. I'm actually impressed that the humans could do it at all. I think they eventually do it. I don't know if they
Yeah.
eventually do it. Do they? Yeah, they
I
actually do it.
wonder
I
how
guess they
much
actually do it at the same time.
Yeah, I wonder how much scale factors into this. It's like, I don't know, the relative size and strength of the ants compared to the humans.
I mean, I think that can, but there's a bigger point which you were talking about, which I think is very big. And then the other one is like simul optimization, where
I'll always love that one.
they like I don't know if there's a specific one. It's the one I thought like it shows you that they reproduce the Tokyo highway or something.
Yeah.
The highway, like the subway.
That reminds me of the GIF from
Yeah.
earlier that Pixie tagged me on of the forest fires.
Yeah, I want to go into that in a second. Uh, Wait, but hold on. Okay. So, I wanna understand what you mean by overspecified agency, or like see if it means what I think it
Yeah.
means.
So if
Because,
I tell you to think of something, you have to think of first what you could think of and then choose a thing, right? Or
mm,
just randomly land on a thing. See, your agency is actually in some ways constrained by what's in your attentional awareness. And we'll just clumsily use both of those terms together. But if I tell you to choose a thing that's in front of your vision right now, you'd much more easily be able to pick something from that. And this kind of butts up against the idea that we don't strictly have free will, we have free won't.
hmm.
The sense that we can choose from what's available to us, but we can always choose no regardless of what's available. And we can that no is sort of a perpetuating the loop. It's like if you were an LLM, like, oh, I'm going to think for some more tokens. So I don't know if that clearly
I
explains
th
what I was thinking.
I think you're saying a lot. I think the small thing that I latched onto.
It's all clumped together in my mind.
Well, but actually, this is part of the whole intuitive, which I'll bring up again because it's important. The two modes of cognition for humans, which are like intuitive, which is holistic, see the whole thing without gaps, and the rational, which is the specialist, actual concordist, generalist. And I actually think there's something like eternal. This is yeah.
I think we talked about um, bounded random walks. Did I draw like a circle and then show like a random walk within the circle? Because I think the intuitive is about sort of bounding an area of just saying, oh, this is the space. And the rational is about like pathfinding within the space. And I think there is a synthesis of the two, and we naturally do it. It's just people lean more heavily on one side or another. Or they have different mechanisms. I was talking to my mom yesterday, and it's like she does random walking way more than I do, but she's also way more deeply intuitive than I am. And so she's not necessarily cognitively constrained while she's doing the walk. She's just feeling her way through it. It's really fascinating to see her do it and compare it to how my brain works. So it's like I know where I got the prior art from, but it's definitely a different art form. Yeah, yeah,
There's actually a fun analogy here between GPU and CPU, but it only makes sense to people who are like
yeah.
computer
I
graphics.
I feel like the intuitive is the art of bounding. It's like yes, you
Well,
can reset and
well,
change the
I
bounds.
I actually I put this here because you were sort of saying the opposite, but I think we're saying the same thing because like think about where like this is bounded, but where does the bound come from? It comes from this.
Right.
Like this is the framing.
I would say
Like
the intuitive is more unbounded problem finding. It's like we're trying to find the right context. We're trying to find The frame,
I
yeah.
like that. I like find I like yeah, because actually it's like the, another way to think about it is like this is given a question, solve it, and this is like figure out the question.
Yeah. Well, because brings me back to something I saw yesterday. In fact, I tweeted about this. If you're in the rational mindset, it's really, really hard to see the whole frame. You can butt up against certain edges of the frame and say, "Oh, I'm in a frame. I need to debug this." But when you're intuitive, you see the whole frame all at once. You're like, "Oh yeah, of course, I can totally switch." Maybe some people can't, but I can swap this frame out for another, lickety split. And
I think they're yeah.
the tweet I tweeted was essentially it's really easy to get sucked into thinking and scheming and planning, and that isn't doing. And there are some people who actually benefit. In fact, a lot of society benefits from us being stuck in these scheming and planning loops. If that makes sense. I'll share the tweet here.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is the rational. A lot of that is even if you're dealing with things from an intuitive place, a lot of times the loops are still rationalist loops. I don't know if that makes sense, but people sort of have intuitive relationships to topics or scenes or concepts, and they kind of loop through them in interesting ways. You see that a lot in social media, where they'll say the same things to each other, but they're using like astrology or other intuitive concepts or like psychology, and they're saying, oh, he's this way, or that's just how XYZ is. And they're almost like the same sort of, what is it, conversation terminating aphorisms
Mm.
that rationalists would have
Hmm.
of their precisely arrived at rational conclusions. And so it's just
Wait,
like,
hold on.
these
You're
aren't two separate
describing.
modes. These are two just different things that play into each other in so many different ways.
Correct me if I'm wrong. What you were describing just now is a mode where you can be on sides. It's a loop.
Yeah.
It's a loop of being stuck, but in this
Yeah,
mode.
I would describe this as like imagine the intuitive and the rational as being two schools of art. And the intuitive has its forms and styles and approaches, and the rational
Hmm.
has its forms, styles, and approaches. You
Yep.
can almost think of them, the rational is highly intuitive is impressionistic and rational is highly realistic, and there's a lot more rulers involved in the rational side. And yet, you can mix and match these in any way. So you can use rulers to apply impressionist brushstrokes. You can use the colors and the themes from impressionist paintings in a rationalist sort of purview. So there's tons of ways you can mix and match these two schools where you'd say, oh, this person's just totally intuitive. And I would say, no, they're actually being quite
Yeah.
rational right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
just using intuitive language.
Yeah. And actually, this is the thing that makes it sometimes hard to talk about because in
Yeah.
reality you don't have this mode and that mode. You have I don't know. Like imagine this is your cone of awareness and it's sort of actually made but like here this is let's say gray is intuitive like it's like this band I don't know they're sort of interleaved but there's something the
I
reason
love that.
I keep breaking them up is because okay actually you can do this for a lot of people you can be like okay well this person is like 90% like there's a gradient here of like how do they stack for you in the current in your computation you're doing um Okay, so there's a way in which it's recursive and they build on each other, etc. But it's like part of what I'm doing is like I'm trying to understand the relationship, and I do that by sort of like assuming this purely rational computation process and then purely rational intuitive process, and then look at what it does, and then when you sort of understand the basic rules, and then you can put them put them together and see what it does in real. Uh, but I think this is the right building block.
Yeah. I think
Which
there's
is
a lot of
again
ways to slice and dice this. It's it's hard for me not to melt everything down into one sort of soupy miasma. It's just like, yeah, these are actually the same thing, just from different angles, and blah blah blah.
but okay, we brought this up because you were talking about I think we were here and I brought it up because I think I wanted to say that you're doing more of this. I'm trying to pull a bit more in here. So okay, um, the question I was trying to answer was about free will, and I was like, or like, do egregores have agency? And I think I was claiming that there's a simple answer if you look at awareness, and I think, okay, this is where we were at. I think this aligns with what you're saying, but I don't fully understand what you're saying. So I'm gonna try to say it again in my words and get your read on it. Okay. So we can basically look at the answer here and look at like where is the free will, or like where is, maybe a more precise question is like who's making the decision? Where is the decision being made? At what level is the decision being made?
A decision.
Eh, well, hold on. We can look at a specific, like, what decision do you care about? And then let me go backwards and see where is that decision? Where can I trace the decision back to? Um,
Tripping out right now.
I
I can't think
actually,
about these things without totally tweaking out because it's like, oh my God, there's not one decision.
um,
There's there's a wave of ants just making micro decisions, and those decisions sort of bubbling up to become sort of emergent. It's recursive feedback mechanism. Like if I'm an ant and I'm pulling on one thing and you're pulling another, if I'm sending some pheromones, like I don't know how they communicate, but that's happening multiple times per second. And the emergent thing is a decision of the ant organism that you're like, oh, it decided to move that way. And I'm just like, I can't think about this without thinking that's exactly how we're doing it internally at the same time.
I think this is all right. Like, let me throw this here. I'll show you. Like, there's something very important about like overlapping systems that are all doing different things,
Right.
and then between them there's a decision. But again, I think there's like this is still so like, but like, okay, just to zoom out a second here. Part of what I'm doing is like saying there's a lot of questions about like destiny and fate and free will and awareness and blah blah blah. And I think we can answer a lot of them without breaking the magic. I think part of the problem is like when the rational, the specialist thing claims to answer some of these things, but it does so by breaking the magic, and then people are like, well, that can't be right, and turns out it's not right because there's more to it. And I think there's basically a way to have your cake and eat it here. I think we can understand
Agree.
free will and almost like the tricky thing. I thought this last night, but I didn't tweet it because it's too spicy. I'm like, there's an IQ debate, but where's the free will debate? Uh, yeah, well, those people clearly don't. And actually, but I think I actually know. Like, it's almost like anyone who to whom the free will debate actually makes any sense as a question, they don't want to talk about it. Doesn't it's not useful to have that. So it's like you sort of age out of it by recognition of it. Um,
Well, I think the couple sessions ago, I talked about clearing out latches in the system because we were talking about the highest good or like what we're trying to optimize for. And I think I said something along the lines of like by clearing out, doing emotional processing, clearing out this stuff, my felt sense is that I have more free will. I don't think anything's actually changed, but whatever free will exists, whatever it is, it can be tied up in a lot of things that feel like us that aren't us. And that can be true in a human being, it can be true in an organization, and it's sometimes easier to see from the outside the less you're part of the tying up. I'm sure you have plenty of examples from your career where you've seen like, oh my God, guys, we're stuck in this thing, but we don't have to be.
You've seen this, right? Wait, have you read Emma Strangeloop?
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Yeah, I
this
remember him
is
talking about, I think, the dog's consciousness. I forget what he called it.
um. Okay, so this is all very good. There's a lot of very
If you model consciousness as something that some part of us creates or does or channels or whatever, and that the more complex we are, the more consciousness we ostensibly have, but also that consciousness can take other shapes or forms. It can sort of emulate things. It's fascinating that you can have an entire adult human modeling the consciousness of a microbe or a virus.
Hmm.
And it's just like you can get. Have you ever seen those super zoom things where they zoom in to like the size of a
Oh yeah,
city
yeah,
on
yeah.
a little
Yep,
disc?
yep, yep, yep.
It You could get hyper resolution of what it's like to be a virus because you have so much conscious resource to throw at it, which just blows my mind. And the
Mm-hmm.
next thing that comes to mind is if we ever figure out how to offload conscious processing onto computer systems, not to say connect them to your brain, but like really what are we doing when we're consciously processing and emulating, then we can actually augment ourselves and emulate things that are even higher resolution or bigger, right? Same way that we did with the Large Hadron Collider, right? It's like we
Mm-hmm.
just bring in more computational power and we can get even finer grained, more resolution, or we can see further. A Hubble telescope. It's like there's a field of consciousness studies that will eventually emerge. That's like let's build consciousness telescopes, right? Let's build consciousness electron microscopes.
Well, hold on, hold on, hold on. Don't get too far
This is where
there
my brain
because
goes.
what
Hey, little
if,
guy.
okay, what if you build your consciousness telescope? I mean, okay, the closest person doing this, I guess, is like Michael Levin, and he's broaching, I think, scary topics that I think he's slowly trying to explain to people, but I don't
I
think a lot
love
of
how
his like
patient he
peers.
is. I love how he engages with random people on Twitter and really takes the time because it really exemplifies that it's not about changing that person's mind. It's about embodying both the type of discourse that you want to see, as well as every interaction that you have in public is a chance to speak to the entire public. And it's not just what you say, although that's really important, but it's also how you say it and how you behave. So he's really keyed into something super important with that particular behavior.
Well, I also think, I mean, I think he's doing this because he's a cool person,
Yeah,
he's a beautiful soul, but
cool
also
dude.
like other people in his position, they are incentivized to do this, I think, because um, I think Michael Levin and people like Blaise Aguilera and others who are notable, and to an extent, I think Stephen Wolfram, um, are looking around and like the things they're finding to be true are crazy. Like they sound insane,
Yeah.
and their peers would think they're crazy, but the weird people on the internet and other also weirdos, like other people like them in various parts of society, like know that it's real. And so I think that's part of like Levin's being like Levin's doing his research, but also has a YouTube channel where he's doing all these talks.
Can I
And
just say how
I think
lovely
part
it
of
is that we live in
yeah.
an age where Galileo wouldn't be censured? Or just like, oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Your people exist, and we can connect you to them.
And actually, I mean, I was gonna make a tweet about this, about but I thought it would be too. See, I don't tweet as much now because I'm like, I can anticipate people getting mad, but like,
Oh yeah,
but I think the tweets are true and beautiful, so maybe I should just tweet them anyway. But I was gonna say like Galileo or whatever wouldn't have suffered so much if he had better science communication, or if he had YouTube, or whatever.
yeah.
Um,
Or
and
if he had misinfo, polluting the airwaves at the same time that he was putting his truth out.
oh, actually,
Uh,
um, and I think part of this was almost. I think the reason I actually wanted this to be a little inflammatory, because I was like, he could have actually made his point without upsetting the church,
yeah,
because he was wrong on a metaphysical level. He was right on a physical level, and those two things are not in contradiction.
yeah.
Actually, sorry, while we're here, do you remember did you listen to the podcast from NPR yesterday? One thing he said is do you remember the opposite of a great truth may be another great truth?
I didn't get to that part yet. That's beautiful.
Um, yeah, because he was like, I used to think that the opposite of great truth is a lie, but then I realized as I got older that, and I think it's a quote from somewhere, that sometimes the thing that conflicts with the truth is another truth. I think this
This
guy, one of
reminds me
those
of
guys.
a conversation I had yesterday with my mom, where it's basically like, God will find you wherever you are. Like you can't get away, but you can run as fast as you'd like. And
Mm-hmm.
it's similar. It's if you're looking for truth, if you're really looking for it and you know how to look, you're going to accidentally run into it literally everywhere you look. And so if you're looking at something, you're like, oh, this is so profoundly true, and then you turn 180 degrees, you're like, oh shit, it's behind me too. Oh my God, it's coming at me, and all it, the walls of
Mm-hmm.
truth are closing in. It's like then they pass right through you, and you're in a new world, a new room of new
Mm-hmm.
truths.
Yep, yep. Um,
I
we have
wanted to
lost the
say
train.
something.
Yeah.
I wanted to say something about the cultural scientific environment of Galileo versus now. I wanted to
Mm.
tie it back to like fungi, which is like in Galileo's time, they were, I don't know much history, but like they were really obsessed with truth and exactness and that there was one truth. And now we live in a world of a plurality of truths and everyone has their own truths and it's kind of a mess. And there's just as much misinformation as answers. And within that cradle, that soupy cradle, real interesting perspectives and truths can actually find a home and grow. And it reminds me of fungi, just being able to use, the combination of rotting and sunlight, just like it is a nutrient rich environment, even if it feels like a total mess. And we would love clarity and to be able to organize all the world's information. There's something special that happens when a lot of things really break down and stuff becomes a soupy mess. It's that we get really esoteric life forms or truth forms or idea structures that you wouldn't necessarily see in a purely rational environment. There's
Well,
probably other
okay, so
really
see,
bad externalities as well. I'm not fully defending it, but
I think this takes us actually back a little bit to what I was originally trying to do here, which is this question of at what level is the decision being made?
yeah,
And um,
yeah,
like how I interpret what you're saying is like sometimes you make your best decisions, and then but bad things happen, but then you realize the bad thing was actually good, and the system was moving towards solving the problem.
right.
Um, and if that happens, I'd say you're not the one. There's a decision above you. There's a level of decision making above you which you don't understand, and that's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
Reminds me of the NPR
But
podcast
yeah.
when he was saying like sometimes when you're really passionate, you try to grab onto a vision that isn't yours, you'll become part of the problem. And you're
Hmm.
basically
Hmm.
saying like you'll make a decision, maybe the system is moving against you or whatever. It's like your number one obligation is to not become a part of the problem, right? Is like
Yep. Yep. Yep.
exercise your free won't until your free will is clear. It's not, oh, you better do something because everything's moving so fast. Come on, just get on with it. Like it's kind of a paradigm reversal.
Yeah, and I think the easy. I mean, one thing I like to try doing in this call is taking the esoteric thoughts and just putting them in a container that anyone can understand. And I would describe what you just said as it's like you work at a company and like I don't know the stock is free fall. Okay, you're just like customer support, and so you leave your station and you try to fix the problem, but that doesn't. First of all, okay, now we had one problem, which is the stocks in free fall. Now we have two problems, which is the customer support guy
It's not
is
working.
making it worse. Yeah, yeah.
He's not doing his job, and
Now
he's
we don't
mucking
we
up other things. We have three problems.
actually yeah, we don't have customer support. That's one problem. Second of all, he's wherever he's in the code base introducing bugs. Okay,
He's vibe coding.
and it's not this free falling. So we had one
Yeah,
problem. Now we have three problems, and this is
yeah.
the same. There's a biological analogy here because, like, again, think about you
This is why
gunshot.
depression is a good thing, by the way.
Oh, well, wait, did you? He said that in the podcast.
He did. He did.
Depression is good, by the way. Um,
Depression is
he
a
he
feature.
had feature not a bug. He went through a lot of pains to sort of caveat this with a million caveats, but
Oh
he was
God, yeah.
like at some
Chemical
he was like at
problems
some point,
exist. Yeah.
right. He's like, okay, there's all these cases where it's not feature, but
Okay.
he's like fundamentally probably was emerged, evolved, and it probably still exists because it serves a purpose, and the purpose it serves is you're on the wrong track,
Yeah.
and like everything in you is pulling the brakes.
Get back to customer
Um,
support, or quit your job.
yeah, you see, there's a million things, but like whatever you're doing now is not worth that. That's also why like it can be hard
But
to.
that's where
Yep,
the free will comes in. If you assume the problem, aka the frame, and you're like, oh, the stock's in free fall, that's the problem that needs to be fixed. You forget about your life, you forget about your options, you forget about the millions of things that you could do that aren't in your direct awareness. And so you've literally constrained a priori your agency to a particular domain, to a particular form of a solution. Like maybe the stock being in free fall is a good thing because it lets the company lie low for a bit and reconfigure without the pressure of shareholders because they're going to bail. As long as it can stay
yep,
alive, it's okay. But as a
yep,
customer service, it's like, I want my payout. I'm not thinking longer term. I'm not thinking in those higher order structures.
yep, exactly, yep. So this is actually it. So it's like you here you're at a lower level of awareness about the full picture.
Yeah,
So and you could do worse job like take the teapot
I have.
just what do we say? What do we say? The just you can just do things.
Yeah,
Um,
you can just break things. You can just abdicate your job.
right. I mean, yeah. So the basic principle is if you have low awareness and if you try to make decisions above your level of awareness, um,
Yeah,
I mean, it's just it's a basic law in that you just won't make good decisions because you don't have the feedback. You don't know.
yeah.
You have no
You
way to
don't know
know if
what
you're
you
doing
don't
it well
know,
because yeah.
and you're not
Um,
super aware that how much you don't know, right? It's not only do you not know specifically what you don't know, but you don't even know the shape of what you don't know.
right,
And that's
right,
why
right,
the
right.
midwit curve is so true.
Yep, yep.
We should call it the
But
mid
because
awareness curve.
that might be nice, yeah. Because people are like, "Oh, I don't want to be midway," but also like you have to. How do you become? You can't go through higher awareness without mid awareness. Um,
Exactly.
it's the growing. Okay, so this is it. This is like the concrete metaphor that everyone can understand. But this is talking about conscious awareness,
Right.
and so you apply this. Instead of a company that stocks in free fall, it can be your life. And instead of customer support, it's like whatever you're doing to your life with your life. So we can apply this here, right? Like
Hmm.
the ants, each ant individually, like first of all, neither the human nor the ant can see top down, can see like the bird's eye view.
Right.
Um, right? So each one
Well,
actually is an agent. Yeah.
humans could, because humans have drones, and they also have the ability to move and communicate across distances with acuity. So theoretically speaking, the human solution is suboptimal for
The one we were
humans.
watching here. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
we could do better. Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
could plan.
Actually, yeah.
We have a lot of skills that weren't deployed in that specific example.
Yes. Well, you think about
They
the
also could have turned it
yeah.
sideways.
I mean, I think it's designed so you have to do this maneuver, whatever,
Yeah,
this like
yeah,
go
yeah.
in and then out. Um, but but yeah, the idea is that the individual ant is following individual signals and isn't doing any higher order planning. If there is higher order planning happening, it's happening at this in between the range of information between all of the ants. So the colony is what's making decisions,
Yeah.
not the
I
individual
am
ants.
curious. Like there's a phenomena where some humans, like if you just throw a bunch of humans in a non-hierarchical group, some humans will take charge just naturally. I tend to wait for that, and then if nobody does, I do. And I wonder if ants actually do that too. In some
Right,
way,
like
do
they
they
feel it,
sort of elect or
like you.
self-appoint leaders?
And I mean, I think everybody who studies like ant behavior, like this is probably like I think this falls under like the bigger collective cognition, and I think the way that works is, I think it happens in society too, which is what I'm trying to study the memetics. But um, each node, like there's a relationship between each node and the collective. So this is the big
Right.
thing here. Like there's node node relationships. Okay, everyone understands that. Okay. And then the collective is made out of node relationships. Okay, everyone gets that. The thing that I feel like is missing, that we don't have a name for, is that there is a node collective relationship.
That one is much more nebulous because it's emergent based on the experience of the node and the signals the node is receiving from other nodes. It's not the collective isn't a thing to the node, but the node can. We're getting into the area of like how do you relate to God or how do you relate to human society, and it's like
Yeah.
I do it through interactions with other humans.
So this is the funny part. As a node can have a relationship to the collective without ever being aware of the collective
Yeah,
because
yeah,
your
yeah.
only input from the collective is through the nodes. So as far as you can tell, this doesn't exist.
Right.
It's only this and this is a hard order. But humans, um, I think human. This is more explicit to humans, and we do in fact have every human has a relationship with the collective that they're inside, and this honestly is like the central. Like I
And
actually at some point I was like one of my early
that
tweets was like relationship therapist, but between self and society.
relationship therapist, but for egregores. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
I, the thing that I would specify about that is that that relationship actually exists in the individual human and is something that technically speaking they have direct right access to. Well, I guess indirect right access is probably a better way to describe it. And so I can change that relationship unilaterally, internally, without any interaction from others. And that's what a lot of like psychological and like metaphysical cultural training is trying to do. Like, oh, you can manifest this or you can, choose love. Like that is you writing to the shared space in your brain, the what do they call it, the superego, and changing that relationship so that you change your behavior. And by doing that, you're actually signaling a different game,
right.
and
I
your
mean,
interactions change as a result.
I buy that completely. No objections here. I think the thing you don't have as easy access to is like the response. the response you get. Right, that's the part that's outside.
And also disambiguating that response from, is this over representative of the individual or is this representative of the collective? Right? We just get
Right.
signal and we sort of have to do a transform on that signal and try to interpret. And a lot of this happens subconsciously. But is this, and some of this happens subconsciously in relation to like stereotypes like race or religion or political party. We sort of do that low pass Fourier transform on the interactions we have and filter them into really lossy boxes. But the fundamental thing here for me is how differentiated, how individuated is this person that I'm talking to? How much am I talking to them, the sort of soulful instance of a human being, versus them, the right, the shared space, right? Like if you imagine every human being has a hard drive and then there's a swap space that's like can grow or shrink that is relating to society. What I'm doing is shrinking mine and saying, look, I can just be me and that's going to be fine. And eventually I will eliminate the space and I'm just going to be me invariantly with everybody. But when I'm talking to somebody, I don't see their hard drive. And so they could be like 90% shared cultural values and shared
Yep.
identities.
Oh,
And
oh,
I'm
oh, this is
I'm talking
great.
to the
Wait, wait,
egregore directly. They're channeling their gods. And I don't know because
wait. This.
it's a human being in front of me.
Wait, I love this so much. You're saying your frame of it's like everyone has a hard drive, a swap space, and it could be, yeah, 90%
It's like
or
BitTorrent,
1%. Yeah,
right? It's like everybody's seeding something.
yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, this is great. Okay, because this is what I do. This is what I spend a lot of my time like thinking about, and also developing techniques for. This is so good. I just want to pause here and say, it's just
Yeah.
nice to talk to someone.
I fucking love this. This is so much fun. This is so much fun.
This is what we were supposed to be doing in the science of memetics, but again, we're still so far from like everyone. Some.
We're literally seeding that right now with this call, right? Like
Yeah,
you want to be
yeah.
further along, I'm sure, but we're getting there through this.
I know. This is why I'm mixed. That's why I'm very excited. I'm like, okay, finally, we're getting to the good stuff.
Yeah.
So let me try to answer this then,
So my
because I
and
think
just
it's.
to point back is like my dream is that everybody in ORI will do calls like this with each other autonomously, and that the results of those calls will be indexed and searchable, and we'll be able to build off of with some of the tools I described. Like, because when that starts to happen, when people are doing what we're doing here, and in radically different ways, right? They might not use TL draw, they might use interpretive dance, like that becomes a mechanism that changes the way that we store and share and evolve this information and these
I
thought
think
patterns.
what your dream is, which is also my dream, is like when I imagine you just see this tweet for the first time. Maybe you don't even follow Defender,
Yeah.
and then you can like click on Egregore, and then this conversation pops up. It's like, okay, here's the last
Yeah,
in
we
the
totally
last
could.
right, right, because and same thing, you're seeing someone or I talk about it and you're like, oh, what do they mean by this, and then you can see
The principle is exactly the same as what I wanted to do with the videos, where I talk to an LLM and I say, hey, tell me what Defender thinks about this topic. And it draws from all these things and creates a summary, but then I can click on the individual timestamps and actually see you talking and see what you were
yep,
drawing and
yep.
connect with the data. Same thing if I was doing that on Twitter. I was like, hey, what is the egregore for this, political ideology say? And then pulling it down into like these individual people are pulling it in this direction, like looking at the ants, right? Like we're all ants. It's like these ants are pulling in this direction, these ants are pulling in that direction. It creates this movement of the geometric piece.
Do you
And the idea that
know?
it's not just one tribe of ants, it's two tribes of ants fighting over the geometric shape.
Oh yeah, yeah. Inside of it, that you don't get to see that. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
There's so much here. Hold on.
We
You
can
you
now.
said like use the AI
We could
to.
literally visualize the movement of the Overton window in real time.
See, that's
The
so close.
Brownian
Hold on.
motion of political discourse.
Hold on. Okay, I'm no,
Sorry, I'll slow down.
the
I'll
brown
slow down.
the Brownian motion that political this is gold. Um, because I'm almost sure the past like 30 seconds. No, it's not.
So
Isn't
glad
is
this is
I understand.
recorded.
I understand what you mean.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think most people do
Maybe not.
yet, but we can. I mean, I think some people will, but I think we can.
I'm also
We're doing the
interested. The other thing I'm really interested in is the misinterpretations or the cross interpretations of what I mean. So I don't, we don't
oh
benefit. And this goes back to the image from yesterday where you're like one to many versus many to many. It's like we don't benefit as much from everybody reaching consensus all the time. We benefit
yep
from the distortions and the mutations of the message.
yep.
And so, yes, I love to be understood. It feels so good. But I also want people to take this and run with it in directions I couldn't expect because that's how I get smarter.
Wait, so when I say surface versus solve, do you know what I'm referring
Oh,
to?
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, because this is something I want. I've been thinking about doing a canon,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
like
this definitely belongs.
the glossary. Yeah, so like if you want to understand Defender tweets, I'm actually going to make one for Ori.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I was going to say, how is that different from the ORI list?
well, um, I think it's just about.
Also, how come we don't have a tool to automatically extract and label those from your corpus?
We're getting there.
Yeah,
Hold on.
we're so close.
The difference between Ori and Defend is that it's just about like okay, well, there's things okay like Ori will be this group, and then Defender maybe is like wants to go in this direction. This direction maybe not everyone wants to go, and maybe that's crazy. Maybe it's weird, and then eventually one of the following like maybe it gets canonized, so it spreads to the whole group, or not because it's like actually no, it's a bad direction, or maybe some of it does, like this part. Um, so that's it. It makes sense for there to be separation because it's our relationship between them.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
actually want more people to contribute to the language. Yeah, yeah.
Defender is like
Thinking.
a mystic or a shaman that belongs to the ORI tribe.
Like, because this purple could be you. You're like, okay, here's where I'm going, and then if I read it and I like it, and then I tell other people, all right, and then
Yeah.
eventually, like, there's a point at which it becomes common knowledge,
Well, that's
common parlance.
collective intelligence.
It is absolutely is. I mean, the fun thing about ORI is like ORI, like in one sense, ORI is supposed to be this like company or research group or whatever, but in another sense, ORI is itself an experiment. It's like ORI can watch itself grow, or I can watch its own language develop, and that is that's a
That little drawing you just did kind of looked like a bird. It's a
that's funny.
little
I don't
beak.
know. I don't know how to draw. Okay, hold on. Let's ground it here a little bit. Okay, as you said, service versus solve is a good general one, which is just about. Um, you said I want to ask an LLM, and if the LLM tells you the answer, that's like solve. It solves the problem for you,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
as opposed to if it finds the source, so you can look at it. It surfaces the answer. So there's very different systems that solve are very different from systems that surface.
Yeah.
In general, I want surface, and it's the difference between like fact checkers who just tell you this is true or not versus something like community notes, which doesn't tell you true or false. It just gives you extra information.
The irony was I was gonna say there's room for solve when the problem is small and like well known or there's an established thing, but it's like that's surface too. We're just surfacing known solutions and letting you decide.
Well, but there is a fundamental difference because it's sort of about like a black box. It's about who's making the decision actually again. So the canonical example is
It's always the
when your
human.
side mirror. Well, but hold on. In this case, side mirror tells you there's no car there, and so in your blind spot, and so then you go to
Oh,
the left and
yeah.
you realize,
So,
oh shit, the mirror was wrong,
yeah.
and you
So
have no way to know if the mirror is wrong, as
this is
opposed to
the. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
the camera doesn't solve. The camera just tells you information
Right.
that there's no default option. Like there is no answer inside of it. You have to look at it and decide.
Yeah. No, that's right. Like if you turn on self-driving, it's making a bunch of decisions automated for you. If you're watching the camera, you're making that decision every time you look over at the camera.
Yes. Yep.
The interesting thing is we do this internally as well. It's like I'm sure you've had the experience driving where you kind of forget where you've driven by just now.
Mm.
You're just like somewhere off in your mind. And so you've essentially, as I understand it, offloaded a lot of the driving decision making to the habitual subconscious or habitual automated mechanism that might not be subconscious. Um, and so I have a diagram about this where it's just like we're trying to figure out what decisions we can automate and which ones we want to keep interactive.
I think
And
yeah. I mean, and this is why the central question we started with is like, where does the decision get made?
yeah,
Um, because I think that frame answers a lot of because like it's not a bad thing to actually Michael Levin says this at some point. He's like instead of you making all the decisions, you can sort of give the cell's biology the goal, and it will make its own decisions, and that is a more resilient system because you don't have to. He said
totally.
micromanage
Well,
the.
and this gets me back to the core thing that I think I brought up about getting locked into loops and local minima or local maxima. It's like the genius of consciousness, the genius about being able to sort of suspend the natural problem solving mechanisms is that we can escape into our imagination and suppose terrain that we can't see and then hand that map over to those mechanisms and pathfind our way
Mm,
to places that we've never
mm.
been. This goes back to the Vsauce video where he's like, it's human to want to get the hell out there. And what did he say? Strive? Or what was the term he
I think I
used?
know what you mean, but I don't remember.
Yeah. Or it's like humans are just
But
not happy with the status quo fundamentally. And that's why we've expanded.
yep,
And so
yep,
this skill that we have, this very special and oft lauded skill of being able to imagine and visualize things that don't exist, is what lets us zoom out from the map and sort of find discontinuities and have these
yep,
crazy leaps.
yep,
And it's the marriage of these two things of like, okay, now that we've sussed something out, can we give it to that intuitive mechanism or the automated sort of cellular system and let it try to pathfind its way, and then we'll pop back out into
yep, yep,
the
yep.
sort of captain's chair
I
and try
actually
to
had.
evaluate what the hell does this mean.
Have I shown you this before? Do you know about
Yeah,
this
this
visual?
this thing is beautiful. It
Well,
blows my mind.
I actually think what you're describing is almost like imagine conscious cognition, like when you mentally
Yeah,
talk to yourself, is up here. It's like, okay, we're like doing this
yeah,
thing, and then, but then there is a, like each one inside of here is doing its own thing, and like maybe this is weird, it's wrong, it's broken, it's not moving, so you go in there and like, okay, what the fuck's going on here? And
right.
like, it'd be nice if you can edit it. I mean, I have a version on my website where it's like interactive. I imagine combining these. So like this one, you can pause, you can change some things,
Yeah,
you can let it go. Like I think this is the relationship between switching from the high level and then jumping, like watching the. And I think one of the problems humans struggle with is micromanaging
yeah,
parts of yourself.
yeah.
Okay, there's a lot. There's so much I want to tell you, but let me wrap up the things I might want to make sure I tell you here, 'cause I wanted to try answering How do you disambiguate? You're talking to an egregore or a person. I want to show you the ORI Evergreen org chart that I was doing, and then I want to. I think you'll appreciate this. People pleasers plus attention equal grifter. I mean, this was more. I just had this theory. I don't know where to categorize this. Last night about why you can't make things better by trying to please. Like why friction is necessary, really. Okay, the reason this feels relevant now is because the CEO or the rational cognition that micromanages has a lot of control and power, but even if they want good things won't happen because he doesn't know how to make them happen.
Well, he doesn't know what's
It's
going on the ground enough to
it
turn his instructions. Like, there's a
it's like
synchronization issue. You
it's
know what I
like
mean?
this, but you're the CEO. Does this make sense? Like it's the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
scenario except you're the top,
yeah.
and you try to go down to fix it, but you end up causing more harm because I mean I'm not
So
gonna fill this out
that's
exactly, but
part of it. I think it's also like if it were the original scenario and the CEO is telling the customer service person, oh, you need to do this too. And he doesn't realize that the instructions that he's giving are almost mutually exclusive with the original tasks of the customer service.
yeah,
And then
yep,
as that's not working, the CEO issues new tasks and it gets into this sort of anxiety loop of like, oh, now we need to do this. Oh, don't forget about that other thing I told you. And that causes a catastrophic lockup
yep,
and sort of, what do you
So
call
this
that?
is
Traffic jam.
I think this is a weird one because it's like even though you have all the power and control, uh, you can do better by doing less by just
Yeah. Asking questions.
actually what you want what you want is to and like understand your what do you suck at because the other people
The-
below you
he- he-
are better at
I
it.
think I think this is a tiny little analogy that might be really awesome. The attention of the CEO is a precious resource in an organization. And if you're an engineer and you're working on something, the CEO comes along and he's just like calm and he's curious. He's like, "Tell me what you're building." Like, "Oh yeah, that's really interesting." Like that is such a fuel for you like wanting to kick it out of the entire park. And the same is true with our personal attention on our bodies, on ourselves, on our emotion, on our
Yep.
cognition. Just loving attention, whether it's in a company from the CEO or in your body from your own mind, is so massively overpowered, and we underthink it
Yep.
because it's like there's no agency in there. There's no agency capture. We're not doing anything.
Like putting attention on something doesn't feel like it's
Doesn't feel like it's enough.
yep.
You're just showing up.
This is really good because I mean the dynamics of what attention does. I think a big I'd say another big thing of what memetics is trying to answer is like
Attention is
what
all you need.
happens. Yeah. What happens when you put attention on a thing, a specific thing? Like you were basically pretty making this prediction. Like
Yeah.
that's the science. Like we're studying the dynamics of attention, and if we understand it, we should be able to make predictions about what happens when,
So
when you put attention.
one thing I would massively caveat there is I said loving attention. So attention can take on different shapes and qualities
Oh
and
yeah.
textures.
Yep.
And
Yep.
if you just generically throw attention at a thing, you'll typically just get more of the thing.
Yep.
But loving attention has a very specific softening, easing quality. It's kind of like a regression to the mean if the mean is love and peace and ease.
Yeah, and this is there's a big the big category is like what is love? I had a tweet about it being it's basically the best optimization algorithm.
I could sum it up in
Uh,
two statements. I
yeah.
want you to be okay, and I want to be okay. And that
Does the or-
those
does
should
the
be
order matter?
together. No, not really.
Okay. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
maybe the order is a response to the nature of the relationship in that moment, but it's just I want us to be okay, but it's specifically you to be okay and me to be okay. And in between those, there's the implicit I want to find a thing that makes us both okay. That's not
Yeah.
always possible,
Yeah.
but it's just that will to like I want us to be well. And that if you show up with that in mind and nothing else, that's loving attention.
Like this. Um. Okay.
And if you have an
Uh.
egregore living in your head taking up a lot of swap space, you may think you're giving loving attention when you're really not.
Mhm.
Because what you're aware
Uh.
of is just what you're doing, and the egregore is doing its own thing.
I'm thinking how easy this question to answer is. Like I feel like though if I actually was like answering this or writing an essay or something, I would start with how do you know that you correctly got it? Because that's always the anchor for me. And then once you have a metric, yeah.
Well, try to answer it for me because I think how do you know you correctly got it is actually really hard, and you can't do it in finite time. You can only approximate.
I mean, I think the short answer is I don't. You can't do it on an individual, but you can do it if with enough like stats, with enough tests on the different people. So
Sure.
it's very simple. My answer is very simple. It's like if I um, if I see a pattern. It's like if I talk to someone, they respond in a certain way, and then I find someone else who is the same archetype of that person because they're in the same ideology or whatever,
Yeah.
and then I can do the same test. I can then ask them, give them the same prompt. It's honestly like prompting humans, and then if they give you the same, if they have the same thought train,
With the caveat that people's expression is highly subject to change based on just, are they hungry? Like, what did the last person say to them? It's like statistically,
well,
it doesn't invalidate what you're
but
saying. It's just like you got to
right,
be
well,
careful.
but the interesting thing I think is that for these things, part of the whole game of medics is I think like if it's hard to measure, find something easier to measure, which is
Yeah,
the same thing like a mathematician would do.
good
If you
point.
can't solve this problem, solve an easier problem.
Yeah.
Um, so there's some things that the egregores influence is so big that it overrides all of that. And so I'm like, there may be things with the egregores influencing them, but they're too hard to measure. But my instruments don't have that resolution, so I'm gonna ignore them. I'm only gonna look at stuff that's like so loud that it overwhelms everything else. Um, and so it's like honestly you can see this even in your friends in real life. It's easy to see in real life when somebody switches from like you're talking to them to it's like their body tenses almost. Um,
This happened to me yesterday. I was talking about something I'd been through. My mom's like, "Your breathing has changed, and you you seem rushed." I was like, "Yeah, I'm upset." And then I calmed down and I started to get sad, and like I moved through the whole emotional progression right there. I'm like, "Okay, I'm cool with it now." So it's kind of funny. It's like depending on what the thing is in the context, you can actually free up some swap space right then and there.
well, that requires it requires you to sort of think about like, wait, how did I get here? Why did it trigger this?
In that
But
moment, it was just she told me, she's like, you don't have to be tense, you're here, you're with us, it's totally chill. And I was like, I literally just let myself untense, I let myself relax, and I felt the sadness coming on. I was like, oh, the tension was preventing the sadness, and I started crying.
mm,
And it was like as long as I'm cool with being sad and I feel safe to do that and it's not going to be too much for her, I can just do that and be through with this. So it's very environmental. Like you have to convince yourself that it's okay, but to me it's really feeling based. It's like if thinking about it helps you get to that place where you're like, oh, it's okay to do this, then that's great. But at the end of the day, it's just, are you going to let yourself relax, and are you going to let whatever's wanting to move through your system move through your system?
How about this statement? If I learn something about a culture, like something happened in the news, and then that like the I'm trying to say, like, if there's a response that I can predict from people, but I need to know them to predict that, then I'm like, okay, then it's unclear whether this is egregore or their own individual thought patterns. But if I learn something, if I don't know anything about this person, but there's a specific behavior that I can predict about them,
You can
only because
predict
I
it
know
from the outside without developing an interior model of the person.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. Then I know
totally.
for sure I'm not talking to.
Yeah. Well,
Well, hold on.
I
This
think in
is
that case, it's clear that the egregore dominates, but it doesn't necessarily tell you to what percentage or how those interactions are mediated internally.
well. Also, I'm also going to concede here real quick that the you can this predictive model can be very accurate, but also false, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I was literally just reading about Napoleon today because I was reading about the Fourier transform. I can't remember where it was linked from. I think it was just like Hacker News. And then I click on Napoleon's article and I click on the Spanish Inquisition and I'm reading just how militant they were, and they were trying to make everybody convert. And they actually went ruthlessly after Jews who converted. You know, they were doing and saying all the right things, and that wasn't enough for them. They're like, oh, they're just faking it. They don't actually mean it. And so it's like you can predict somebody's behavior, but you can't predict the internal processes. So they were bowing to the egregore, which was this crazy brand of militant Catholicism at the time, and yet internally, their internal structure may have been totally unchanged.
yeah, and actually, this is something when I get into eventually. You know the image where like Alice and Bob and they simulate each other
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I posted
recursively.
one. So I had one that I posted. It was like the when the U's meet, but whoever posted the other one, that one was actually way more detailed, and I liked that. Do you
Yeah,
recall?
I think I can find it, but
Yeah,
maybe not right now
I'll,
because I wanna
I'll
wrap
pull it
up.
up.
But wait, the you said like there's a limit to like well you can't know the interior, and the short answer is eventually I think we're eventually going to show or prove or demonstrate here that
I posted
love
it in
is
the
the
chat.
bottleneck. Like you need a That's why I keep talking about open medics and like surveillance has a limit. Open medics voluntary information is
Yeah.
unbounded in how close you can get.
I think a lot of this really reduces down, and it's really terrible that in my mind, it reduces down this way. But it's so ridiculously simplistic. It's all about resources. It's all about negotiating the availability of resources into the future. And love is a really strong signal that we're not resource constrained.
Hmm.
That we're not living under a paradigm where resource constraint is dominating our decisions. And when I think about the companies that I've worked for, where they're really chasing after money because they are resource constrained and they do feel like they're dying, they make greedy decisions. And when I think about the companies that are just dominating, even if they're necessarily bad or evil companies or whatever, they tend to make more loving decisions to the point where
See,
it's not really about love. It's about the relationship to resources and how the organism encodes that relationship in its behavior and structure.
I think this is a big love is sort of
I
produces
so
competence.
you say competence, but I'm thinking more faith because it's like I can't
Well,
guarantee that I'll have resources tomorrow, but I'm sitting here with you today in faith that what we're doing is good for both of us.
but this is like even in the case of like the companies that don't aren't
Oh,
trying
you're
to do
saying
good.
love grows competence.
Yes,
Okay,
from
sorry.
love, like competence comes from love,
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Then the arrow is
and
correct.
this is something that like people like think is stupid because they're like this is a very very big
If
point,
you know
and
anything
it's
about early childhood development, this is totally indisputable.
like cruelty and evil in general
Yeah,
have a almost natural law preventing how much power they can have,
yeah.
uh, which is like good. That's pretty good news, because some of the things we're gonna talk about later. I don't know. When you think about what the top of the hierarchy in humanity looks like, and what might be
Well,
above, whether it's a
specifically,
parasite, an egregore. Yeah.
specifically speaking to that, I just wanted to bring up a specific concept that I don't have fully fleshed out in my head, which is we see a lot of people develop extreme competence in a love deprived environment. And to me, what that signals is like there's something inside them that has self love or self confidence. It's like it almost demands it. It's like your options when you're being extremely neglected or abused are completely collapse or basically shape your identity around resolving to completely upend what was done to you. And I'm specifically thinking about Elon Musk. And to me, what comes out of that is an extreme form of competence, and it's not shaped the same as the competence that you might see if the person was just raised in love. And the interesting thing is this is sort of an amoral competence. It's like you see great things done, you see terrible things done, and it's like it's almost devoid of an inherent morality. So it's like it's not truly compatible with love. And yet I wouldn't
There's,
condemn it as such.
I think that's interesting. There's a character in the Phoenician scheme who I think sort of reminds me of like Elon Musk's an archetype, and what I like is that at some point someone sort of asks him. She's basically like confused. 'Cause she's like, "You're very competent, but I don't see God in your heart and you're in this place." And she's also talking about love, like, so
Right,
she
right.
and she's like, "What?" She's like, "Where does this come from? And also, why are you doing this? Like, what is your
It's the Darth
what is
Vader
fueling you?"
effect. But
Uh,
my
yeah,
like I still feel like anyone who finds himself in that state, they're just two steps away. So anyone could be
yeah.
turned, but it's like while their mind is on their mission, you couldn't reach them, and trying to reach them and convince them to love instead would actually push them further and further away from the light side, as it were. So it's like they have to complete some arc that they've inadvertently
Yep.
set up for themselves, just like Darth Vader.
Which is when that's what happens in the Phoenician scheme, where
Mm,
he's sort of like the thing he's fighting to protect and he's very good at protecting is his like fortune and his empire, which he ultimately fails at. But it doesn't matter because he's better off. The movie wants us to see that he's better off
yeah.
because it wasn't what he needed anyway. Because which is what she asked him in the first place. Is like, what are you even doing here?
Yeah. I
Why?
rewatched Lord of the Rings recently, and I just want to point out it's like it's the task of losing his fortune, building the fortune and losing it, is not just for him; it's for the rest of us as well. It's like one of the messages in Lord of the Rings is like even evil is woven into the tapestry for good,
Mm.
and so it's like it doesn't. If you truly believe in certain forms of a benevolent God, you do believe that like all things are used for good, for the ends of love and peace and harmony. And so it's like yeah, there's not as much to do as we think there is. The main goal is to live well and to try to act on the things you have direct interaction
Yep.
with
Yep. Yep.
and
Yep.
not get too
Aligned.
distracted.
Okay, this is good. The last thing then is, which is going to be more of a sneak peek for next time,
Yeah.
um, is in the Evergreen thing. This is kind of like an org chart. So I don't know if you remember. Do you remember me talking about org chart for Spaceship Earth,
Yeah. That was
which
early
is
on
just
in the
this idea.
ORI lore.
Yeah, which I kept like putting it off, and I think there's a reasons why. Honestly, I think a lot of it is fear. But anyway, I'm doing it.
A question,
And I think, yeah.
when you say org chart, are you thinking in traditional terms, or are you thinking in terms of like how is Spaceship or Earth actually distributed? It's way more decentralized and emergent.
Yes, I say org chart because I'm still stuck on my frame
Sure.
of like we're all coworkers. But honestly, I just want to know who actually goes back to who's making the decisions.
I would push you in the direction of collaborators instead of coworkers.
Right, 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 right. I mean,
How do you feel about that
ever,
term?
I'm aligned with it. It's, well, okay. It's again. I mean, I'm still gonna keep using coworkers in my head because
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes a person is in the ecosystem here, and I don't like them, and they don't like me. But we still have to. We're still driving the same ship, so we got to figure it out.
Okay. I
Um,
I can totally relate.
so,
There's,
but anyway,
there's
I'm
plenty
not
of people I
starting.
don't like. There's plenty of people I don't like right now that I'm rooting for. Even that I'm following or interacting with on Twitter. It's like I want you to succeed with what you're doing, and you're not quite my style.
Um,
I feel
but
bad admitting that.
yes. Oh, well, okay. But here's the thing. I'm starting with like very benign because it's like more like mapping out more. This is really gonna be more like the people who I interact with and their relationship to me.
Call it a vision job board. You know, like vision board. It's just like these people have specific visions and ways that they're
Yeah,
looking at the
well,
frontier.
one of the reasons I said I wanted to have this in the Evergreen because I want to almost like look at it weekly as it changes. Because the idea is like there's a vision of like how we're all gonna work together, and then there's like what's actually happening. Who am I currently working with?
Yeah.
And there's gonna be this like push and pull. So I guess some of this is aspirational, but it's mostly sort of it's how I see it. This is how I see my network, and
It's beautiful.
well, okay. So I mean, yeah, we could sort of dig into it. But this is
I
all
like
right,
I
and
like that
again, it's
Omar
like
guy.
this guy. We'll talk about him later. Um,
It's cool.
and this is not again. This is not like a hierarchy about like oh this is the CEO and these are the people under him. This is more again. This is my. It's almost like an inverted. Like if you were to take a company diagram, like when I worked in a big tech company, the CEO is up there, and then all these people, and like I was somewhere down here. This is more like okay, well who am I working with? Like if you were to imagine this is like 3D, and so if you rotate it, it's like oh Sam's actually at the top here, but it's like which side is up? You don't know. You can just keep rotating it.
Well, everybody is pushing against the frontier, and the
Yeah,
frontier
right.
expands in every direction. So
Exactly,
they're
and
going
that's
to
why
be
it's
at
a
the top
circle.
of their particular thing.
That's why this is a circle. Um, because yeah, it's like which one's on top, and you can just keep rotating it as needed. Um,
Should have been a
but
horseshoe.
but I think yeah, I think this will be helpful because then I want to almost like go through each one and like here's what they do
Yeah,
and eventually we could do like calls with each one.
I'd love that.
Oz was the person we wanted to have a call. We can have
I'm
him as a guest
so
next time.
excited.
Eval is new, but I'm very excited about him because he gets a lot of what I think a lot of what both of us are talking about with the intuitive and the rational.
Yeah.
And then we can look at the open medics ecosystem and how I want to connect. Like there's a lot of different people who are all doing sort of their own things, And if we can all come together, like I think I don't know. To me, this is like it's a spicy thing to say, and I haven't tweeted this because I think it'll be extra spicy. But in my head, these are the live players. These are the people building this field. Okay, so people are gonna be upset like, well, that guy shouldn't be in there, or like you didn't put this guy in there who should be in there. And my sort
Just
of excuse.
make your own org chart, baby.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Like,
there's that, but then my sort of smallest claim I'm making here is like this is not the map of the field. This is like who I'm aware of and who I'm learning from and who I'm following and who I'm. It's like my yeah. It's my map of it's
I
who.
think that that particular thing is something that I think is a really interesting principle I want to try to figure out and cultivate, which is what we're doing is from our own perspective. So even though you're the main person trying to orchestrate and facilitate ORI, you're also one person, right? And you're not the end all be all authority on all of these matters. You're just another person who's involved in this. And so if we kind of approach it from that angle, it's like we should all be making our own personal org charts. And we should develop some kind of cultural mechanism for how do we exchange information across those org charts? How do we mesh them where they need to be meshed? Yeah, it's pass one. Yeah, yeah. I mean, just putting this together and putting it out there is really helpful. But I want to see other people do it too. And I want to see specifically how do people end up cross-referencing that? And can we in what ways can we operationalize that without adding too much cruft of like the exchange of information, the exchange of connections, and like, oh, I didn't see you had so and so here, I'm going to add them to mine. Yeah. And each of these things, it's like maybe on one level the org chart makes sense. On another level, it's organized by the sort of current evergreen representation of like what is this person doing right now? What would they be good to talk about? So it's like if I land on this and I have my particular interests, I would love for it to sort of pop up in my face and say, here's like five things. Do any of these interest you? And I like I'm not suggesting an interactive experience, but like I click on one and it's like, oh, okay, I can talk to so and so. This is their last tweet where they did that thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They just completed a huge raise, by the way. That was exciting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. This is really relevant to what I wanted to do with the video because it's the same principle. And it's just like, how do you ground it in the stream, right? Because it's like he has a body of work that goes back 10 years. That's great. If I come to him and like, hey, this 10-year article that you wrote, I found this thing and I wanted to talk to you about it. And he's like, well, I've moved on. My thinking on this has changed a little bit. So I want to be able to connect people with other people in ways that are relevant. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. 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 Totally. 1:30. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. As always, this is absolutely delightful. Got the recording here.